So I will try not to do the 2-hour answer to that question. So there's a commonality that I wound up finding by accident because of the show, right? And so what I mean by that is that when I got out of the military, I missed war, right? I missed being in Iraq or being in Afghanistan. I missed it, right? And there was this draw, this compulsion, this overwhelming urge to go back. And for anybody that's done that, you probably know what I'm talking about. For anybody that hasn't, it's really difficult to explain, right? And so it's like a compulsion that you just can't shake. And it was so much that there was a couple times where I almost did go back on the civilian side, and I kind of thought better of it and wound up not. But so I think a lot of guys rationalize that because, you think, well, oh, okay, well, it was the camaraderie or it was this or that or the other thing, right? So when I got done with Alone, the first couple of weeks, like, I didn't talk to anybody. I didn't want to see anybody. I didn't, and I wound up talking to a friend of mine who had been through kind of similar experience, and he kind of helped me through, getting back into society and all that kind of stuff and breaking out of my bubble. But I kind of went to that same place in my mind, that same cave, so to speak, in my mind. And the other weird thing was there was the same draw, the same compulsion, the same feeling, but instead of going back to war, it was going to the woods and being completely away from everything, right? And so, but the draw, the magnetic pull was the same. And so I struggled with that for a while. I was like, how could, they're polar opposite things. On one end, you're with a bunch of people, and on the other end, you're completely by yourself. Like, how can I be attracted to these things the same? And what I finally realized was what I was actually attracted to, and what I think a lot of guys that are going through those emotions are attracted to, is you're attracted to the simplicity. You are attracted to it because you have stepped through, on a subconscious level, you have stepped through the looking glass. Your subconscious mind has realized, oh, this is how I'm supposed to operate as a human being. I'm supposed to wake up. I'm supposed to worry about not dying. I'm supposed to worry about eating. I'm supposed to, deal with the problems at hand. I'm not supposed to be stressed out about my neighbor's lawn being greener than mine. I'm not supposed to be stressed out about taxes. I'm not supposed to hear all these weird noises. I'm not supposed to, do all of these things. I am wired as a human being to live a more simplistic, as we would look at it, life. And I think once you have an experience to where you kind of go through that portal, you kind of step through that looking glass, and you see that on a subconscious level, your subconscious level is always trying to get back there. And you might not realize it on a conscious level, right? But your subconscious is producing that gravitational pull. It's producing that draw that's telling you, no, go, this is not right. Like, none of this stuff is right. Go back to when it was the way it was supposed to be, right? And so that's just what I personally believe. I might not be right, but that's what I personally believe. So, in dealing with, PTSD and things like that, for this specific, stuff, for, war or whatever, a lot of people that have never been to war, they look at it and they say, well, that had to be traumatic. And for some people it is, for some people it truly is. And there's different events that they have to go through or whatever that traumatize them. Right. And in dealing with PTSD, you can deal with those specific events. But I spent almost 4 years, throughout Iraq and Afghanistan. That's not a specific event. That's a changing of lifestyle, right? And so for a long time, I was like, I don't have PTSD because there was nothing traumatic. Like there was nothing to me that traumatized me from Iraq or Afghanistan. There was none of those things were traumatizing. I would go back and do them again in a heartbeat, right? And so what I finally realized is there was trauma, but the problem is that the trauma is what you and everybody listening to this calls normal life, right? The trauma is that I see the world differently now, on a very deep level, and my subconscious won't let me go back to saying like, oh, this is fine. Like, no, it's not fine anymore, And so when I'm on my mountain, there's no trauma. You know what I mean? When I have to get reintroduced into normal, quote unquote, then it's that same trauma all over again, right? So it becomes this thing of, well, how do you treat that when you're still living that trauma, when you're still, being surrounded by all these things that your subconscious brain is telling you, no, this ain't right, Bubba. Like, you ain't supposed to be here. That creates a whole nother dynamic, right? And so, one of the other things that's hard to deal with that is escapism. So for me, there's times where I spend a week or more and I don't come off the mountain. I say that like it's both literal and just kind of a term we use up here of coming off the mountain, right? And so like, but literally it is, like coming off the mountain and going into town. But yeah, there's times where, I'll spend an exorbitant amount of time and I don't necessarily, do anything crazy, but I stay out. I stay on the mountain. So it's strange, man. So it's trying to find that balance now, it's trying to find that balance to where, I'm able to kind of deal with the normalcy of society when I have to deal with it. But by the same token, I'm in my happy place for the most of it.